Afternoon, everybody. We will start with a broadcast section that's got no embargo, followed by an embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting during the broadcast section, and please use the microphone provided. Jamie.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, Ange. Start as usual with team news. Pedro Porro, Richarlison.
Yeah, headline news, I guess. Everyone from last week is fit and available. Coming back, Pedro's good. He's trained all week. He's no problem. Everyone else, including Richie, still not training with the main group, so unavailable.
A real feature of the games at the start of the season was Spurs coming out of the traps fast and invariably taking the lead in games. In recent weeks, they've been sluggish starts, invariably going a goal down. Is that just football? Is that just one of those things? Or is it becoming a trend? And is it a trend you know how to address?
Yeah, look, I get it. It's kind of interesting to always kind of take a snapshot. But I reckon we've had it all this year. We've scored early, scored late, conceded early, conceded late, conceded from set pieces, scored from set pieces, defended well. Mate, it's just a season of football, particularly for a team like us that is very much trying to build something. It's going to happen. Trends for me is something that happens over, a longer period of time and something that's kind of becomes endemic. But I see absolutely no difference in winning a game 3-1 and scoring 3 goals in the first 15 minutes or scoring 3 goals in the last 15 minutes. To me, there's no difference in it now. For some reason, one seems to be that it's more convincing if you score early and sort of are comfortable after that, whereas if you score late, it tends to navigate towards that maybe you had a struggle. But I think you look at trends historically, I think from the first year I managed, all my teams scored late goals. It's part of kind of the game model. So if anything, I think that's tilting towards more of kind of the team we want to be.
Just one other one from me. You may or may not be aware of this, but you know what fans are like. A lot of the fans in the build-up to this one have been talking about the fact that Matty Cash put in a tackle on Bentancur in the last game, which caused him to go off with an injury and quote-unquote revenge for that. Do you have any job in your hands to just keep players calm, that they're not coming out there all fired up?
Yeah, I wouldn't place all the ownership on the fans. It seems like you're fueling it a bit yourself. So, no interest, mate. And it's for us, the challenge is we're going to face a really good team with really strong home form. And beyond that, you'd be surprised at how sort of little that sort of stuff infiltrates what we do and kind of our motivations around a game of football. If anything, like I said, they're the kind of things that you hope as you mature as a team and develop as a team become less and less important or a focus. Because I think when you're clutching at those kind of things, you're kind of losing sense of what's important. What's important for us is that we go out there and, like I said, we've got to be at our best to play against a very good football team and try and get a result.
Nif.
Hi, Ange. Good afternoon. The top four competition is very it's fascinating this season. And I was wondering, when you took the job in the summer, obviously so many changes in the club, Harry Kane left and people joined, etc. Did you imagine the team will be involved in the top four?
Look, I think I've said all along, I didn't have any specific targets. It was one of those, because I think if you kind of say our target was, okay, we want to finish, as you say, in the top four, we're there or thereabouts at the moment. That might mean that the players or even the club gets comfortable, and I just don't want us to ever be in that sort of position. My belief was that we would be very competitive this year, and I thought, we would definitely improve on last year and see where that takes us. But I think for the most part we've handled everything that's happened this year, and kind of, like I said, the first year of trying to build something. I think we've handled it for the most part pretty well. I think we've been competitive in just about every game we've played this year, which is, as a manager, that's kind of what you're looking for. I've said before, performances, results have fluctuated, but not our competitiveness. I think even the games we've lost, we've been in, and even the wins that maybe we haven't been convincing in, we've still been very, very competitive, and it's a good place to start.
I want to ask you about Timo Werner, please. Scored against Palace, his first goal for the club. He looks more confident, more comfortable as well. How satisfied are you with what he brings you to the team?
Yeah, look, I think he's been really important. If you know, you can only imagine if we didn't bring him in January, there would have been a much bigger burden on the other players in the group, particularly when Sonny was away as well. And you know, we threw him in straight away. And you know, when you come in January, especially for somebody at Timo's sort of standing, he's a mature player. He's not sort of a young player we've brought in to develop. We're bringing him in to make an impact, and I think he has made an impact for us. But I do think there's more to come from him for sure. And you know, he's working hard at training. I think his performances are improving. I thought last week was probably his best performance, aside from the goal. I thought it was his best performance for us. So that's great for us. And you know, I think it's also helped guys like, you know, Brennan Johnson and Kulusevski and others. You know, like I said, the burden would have been, you know, pretty big on those guys if we hadn't brought Timo in.
Aston Villa this weekend, Villa Park is a fortress. It's a difficult place to go to. How impressive have you been with them this season?
Yeah, very. Even last year, I think from when Unai came in, and look, he's got a track record of building really strong teams, and you can see that they've got a clear identity, that they understand what they need to do on a weekly basis. The players they've brought in really suit the way the manager wants to play, and yeah, they've been hugely impressive. As you said, their home form, but just in general, again, another team that for the most part is competitive every game, so you know it's going to be a tough one. But great for us, looking forward to it. It's a big game, as you said, particularly away from home, and good test of us. You know, like I said, I thought we were good last week. Really pleased with our performance in general last week, and hopefully we can build on that.
Ian.
Hi, Ange, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, bud.
Last week you were talking about the fact that you'd liked more games this season because for momentum and seeing the pluses and what have you for your squad. This week you're going to a massive game. You've had a whole week to prepare. Villa have had the trip to Amsterdam. Does that make it an advantage for you or not?
No, I don't know how many. Maybe I've got to do it in Greek or another language. I'd love to be in Europe. I think I've said it already. I would love to have had a game yesterday and the day before. I would love it. It would thrill me to the deepest part of my soul. My heart would be bursting. I would be that ecstatic. If that doesn't make it clear that I would prefer to have games rather than not, I'm not sure what will.
I just thought about in terms of...
You're coming back again, aren't you?
No.
Yeah, you're not convinced.
Don't worry about it.
Maybe do the Greek.
No,
yeah, you're right.
I'll move on, shall I?
Okay.
Everyone's been impressed with Ollie Watkins' form this year. When you take on a team like Villa, how much more attention do you give to someone like that, or do you just give the normal attention to the team you're playing?
No, look, I think for all teams you kind of respect their strengths and weaknesses, both from individuals. But I think when you look at Villa, it's more about the collective. But Ollie Watkins has been outstanding, and not just this year. I think, you look at his career, his durability to just play game after game and still maintain a high level of performance and improvement in performance. Credit to him, obviously, the coaches he's worked with. But, when the way he leads that line is outstanding. But for us, it can't be just the focus because, as I said, I think to challenge and sort of overcome a team like Villa, you really got to look at the collective because they're very well organised defensively. They've got a real kind of some key players when they do get the ball. John McGinn's outstanding. All these kind of players who that if you just focus, say, on stopping Ollie on any given day, there's so many others that can hurt you. So our focus will be on, like I said, for us, it's still about us. It's about our performance. If we play well, as I said, I can't remember a game where we haven't been competitive, and we're going to have to be competitive again on the weekend, and then hopefully we show the quality we need.
And finally, you're a man of the people. You're a fans' favourite, fans' champion. This week, the fans not massively happy with the increase in season ticket prices, and some of the concessions will be leaving. Can I just get your view on that? Because, I mean, this time when everyone's struggling, coming to football is probably their one big thing for the week.
Yeah, again, I think I've been consistent in saying around all these kind of subjects and topics, I don't think it's my place to kind of try and, articulate a position because other people are in charge of these areas. I've said a million times that I'm the spokesman for the football aspect of this club, and I'd hate it if somebody came out here one day and tried to explain my tactics or my my team selections, and I'm not going to do the same. And I've also been consistent in saying that, supporters are the lifeblood of any football club, and I'm not going to be, trying to dictate how they feel. They have a voice, they have a strong voice, they have avenues to express their opinions, and I will always abide by that and accept that, even if sometimes, and as a manager, I've certainly had it when it's against you. You've got to respect the fact that they have a very strong voice and they're allowed to express that.
Jack.
Hi, Ange. Brennan Johnson's obviously been really good in the last few weeks, even though he hasn't necessarily been starting. At what point does he give you a difficult decision about putting him back in the 11?
Look, they're all, I don't know about difficult decisions. They're kind of easy decisions. And the good thing about Brennan, as you said, is that now he's kind of contributing and it's important. It's been important for us in recent games, but it will be important for us moving forward. But that doesn't mean that that's him consigned to that, that position. But I think overall, I think his year has, we've seen growth in him. He's understanding better the demands of the position, which is a bit different to probably what he was used to, and you can see him growing all the time. And he's still a very, very young man for us in terms of particularly in that striker position, and we see a lot of growth in him. And like everyone else, I said last week, they're all there in front of me every day with the opportunity to present themselves to play, and whether that's to start or not to start, what I'm looking for is an impact, and Brennan's been making that.
Okay. Back to Ali, please. No. Back to George then, at the back, please.
Hi, Ange. Villa Park can obviously be a hostile atmosphere, and I guess maybe not for the team, but fans feel like there's a bit of needle because of that sort of Matty Cash tackle. I guess you're going to look for your players to be calm, and would you almost be looking to someone like Christian Romero to kind of lead the team and being calm and composed, because this season he's been transformed when it comes to that composure?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't put it down to an individual player. It's us as a group. But to be fair, I think we've kind of displayed that already this year. We've played some pretty tough away venues already, and I think we've coped with what's been thrown at us. Even, like I said, the games we didn't win, we were right in them. So, there's no reason why we have to do anything different on Sunday that we've been doing all year. I think rather than those kind of things, more important for us is, like I said, a real focus on playing our football, continuing to try and impose ourselves on the opposition, and I think that's going to be more important than the kind of the other stuff around it, because like I said, we've been to already some very difficult venues, with some pretty passionate atmospheres, and I think we've coped with it well.
And just with Romero, I mean, as I say, he's sort of kept the yellow cards to a minimum, and he's also chipped in with a lot of goals for now. How impressed have you been with his overall aspect of play this year?
Oh, look, he's outstanding, but I thought he was from day one. He's a World Cup winner. You don't win World Cups as a starter, not just part of a squad, a real contributor. Great pedigree, great defender, great guy, very driven, very motivated, highly competitive at everything he does. I love that. There's nothing else you'd want in an athlete, and a great example for the rest of the guys.
And just finally from me, back to the season tickets. I mean, obviously, the best chance a club has of success is when everyone is sort of united and pulling in the same direction. Would you kind of worry that with the fans being unhappy with this season ticket increase and the concessions changing, that could jeopardise the fact that everyone is united and not all together pulling in the same direction? Yeah,
but again, that would be me trying to dictate people how they should feel. I'm not going to do that. How they feel is how they feel. If they're not happy with something, they've got every right to express that. My role within that, like I said, is hopefully produce a team that, that they gives them hope and belief, and that's where my role begins and ends. I'm never, I know how much football fans are invested in their clubs, and I'm not going to sit here and tell them that, you know what, put aside your feelings, or, you know, if you feel something strongly about something, just for the good of the team. No, well, if you feel strongly about something, you feel strongly about something, and they're allowed to do that. My role, like I said, is hopefully to produce a football team that they gives them hope and belief, and you know, gives them something to smile about at the end of the week.
And can we finish with James, please?
Hi, Ange. There's a possibility that 5th place might be good enough for Champions League. Do you allow yourself to think like that, or can you only focus on top 4?
Well, there's 12 games to go. You know, if I'll shoot for 8th. Let's see how we go, you know, and I'll feel really happy about myself. I don't see the sense in trying to aim for something other than number 1. What's the point? I don't see the point, you know.
It's more to think that it's an insurance policy potentially.
For what?
Well, if you can't get in the top 4.
Okay, so there were a couple of teams that got into the Championship Leagues this year from last year that had a good season. Does that guarantee anything the following season? No. So I've said all along, I'm in no desperation to get something just for comfort or insurance. I'm here to create a team that wins things. And for me, it defies logic. I'm just not built that way to aim for anything other than the top. Now, it doesn't mean you're always going to get there, but I'm not going to settle for anything other than that. If I fall short, well, that's on me. Okay, but I'm not going to sit here and try and, you know, create a scenario where we're happy with anything other than being the best. Just the way I think.
And well, given that aim, how important then is Champions League qualification to help you develop the squad to then go and try and win the league?
It's no more important than it's not actually. What's more important is that come the end of this year, we've got a team that's going to challenge the following year and keep growing. And we're only going to do that if right now the most important thing is us, our identity and our football. Because just getting into, I mean, mate, it's not a Willy Wonka golden ticket, you know. It just gets you a year in Champions League. But if you don't build on that, if you don't grow from that, it's meaningless. I think, anyway, because we're not in it for participation. We're in it to win things. So, yes, Champions League will show that, you know what, if we make Champions League this year, it means we've progressed from last year, yes. But has our football progressed? Are we a better team? Are we a stronger team? Are we going to improve in the summer to make sure that next year we're going to be even better? That's much more important to me. And so my target this year has always been to create a team that I hope will lay strong foundations for moving forward, being a team that can win things. That's where it begins and ends. Logically, as you say, if we've improved and we make Champions Leagues, it means we've had a decent year. But that isn't going to give me any comfort if we're not playing, you know, football that I want us to play, and we don't improve in the off season to make sure we're ready for the next step.
I think the general perception would be if you're not in the Champions League, it's just harder to develop in the way that you're describing. But from what you're saying, you don't agree with that.
No, I don't. No, I think your development is your development. If you keep getting stronger as a team, those kind of things don't even come into the equation. You should be there all the time. But if that's your goal, and thinking that is some, you know, like I said, golden ticket to some endless riches, it's not the case. And there's plenty of evidence, even this year, that you can see that that's not the case.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. We'll move on to the embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. Matt?
Just to pick up on the news from the Champions League, we've put Tottenham in a stronger position in the transfer market. That would be accepted.
Yeah.
And given what we're seeing with a lot of the accounts being announced at the moment, lots of clubs are close on PSR, are in debt. We haven't seen Tottenham's accounts yet, but I think we all know Tottenham aren't going to be in that situation. Do Tottenham, whatever happens in terms of or not, have an opportunity at the moment that maybe other clubs struggle with, because it seems to be in a good position?
Yeah, I'd agree with that sort of as an overall perspective. But again, I've always felt with those things, it's not what you spend, it's how you spend it. I've always believed that, and I continue to believe that. So you're right. I think our football club will be in a great position from a financial perspective to continue to grow our football team. But if we make bad decisions with that position, then we don't have an advantage. So I still think you need to, and even if you're not in that position, you can still, I believe you can still make progress and advance. It's still about decisions you make with what you have. But I agree that we are in a position where I think there is an opportunity for us during this summer window to continue to build the team.
Which potentially puts Tottenham in a slightly different position to what they've been in. I'm not talking about advantages, disadvantages, but Tottenham have always been in a slight position of what they can aim for in the transfer market and what other clubs have tried to do. It feels like Tottenham might be in a different position. Yeah,
to a certain extent, but I don't think we're in a position to spend 100 million on a player, if that's what you're suggesting, but because that's not the case, and I think it'll ever be the case for the club. Our competitors are. So, irrespective of the positions, but I think when you look at our 2 transfer windows so far, I think we've done really well in pitching it to the level that we need to pitch it as a football club, and bringing in real quality players that I think have all sort of increased in value since they've been here, and I think there's more to come from that. So, the premise that we're in a good position, I agree with. It's up to us to make sure we take advantage of that, though.
John?
And you were talking about progression and where the club is now. I do actually think that the majority of Spurs fans would probably argue that they're probably a lot further down the road than they might have imagined in the summer. Do you see it like that? I mean, it's maybe a tribute to the players that we pushed on really well, haven't we, this season?
I think, John, with everything that's happened, if I give myself that luxury of trying to reflect when there's still 12 games to go, I'd say, and I think I've said that I'm super proud of the way the club, the players in particular, have responded to the adversity we've had this year, because it's not just about, obviously, new manager coming in, new way of playing, new staff, new squad changing over, but we've had some real challenges, including, again, kind of covering old ground, but losing Harry 2 days before the first game. Like, I can envisage a scenario, or many scenarios, where that could go very, very differently. With the way that we as a football club and the players sort of took on that challenge. Because I think if you're looking for a bit of leeway or excuses, we've had plenty this year for us not to be in the position we are. Obviously we've had some pretty big injuries, pretty big absences through international tournaments. And what I've been really proud of saying, and I don't dismiss it, is just the real competitiveness of the players every week, irrespective of the lineup we've put out there. Even the games we've lost, like I said, we've been in them. It's not like we've been blown away by anybody. And I think if we had gone the other way and sort of, downplayed our expectations and downplayed any sort of progress for this year, I don't think we would have got as much out of the year as I think we have. I think we've set a really strong benchmark for competitiveness and not having any excuses for what we do for moving forward, so that if we're going to continue to grow, there'll be other challenges, not the challenges we've had this year, but we can always refer back to this year and say, well, look, through that the whole time, we never once sort of laid down, we were fighting all the way.
I guess in football terms, why is the Champions League and why is Europe so important to you? I mean, I guess it's an obvious question, but in terms of progression, in terms of incredible nights, this club has such a rich tradition.
It does, and I think it challenges, players. So for me, that's where you get more growth, expose your players to different kind of conditions, different kind of football, different kind of challenges. More games allows you to get more growth in the group in general, at different levels. So I do believe it's important for our growth. And for me, that'll be, like I said, that's what I keep saying. I would have loved to have been in Europe this year. I really think it would have accelerated our growth in any European competition this year if we were in it. So it's imperative for us that we're back in there next year, and I think that will help us grow the group and grow the individuals. But again, not not just being satisfied with that. It's about using that then as a vehicle, like I said, to get us where we want to.
Kieran.
Thank you.
It feels like we've heard more about set-piece coaches than ever before, to the extent where we even know the names of the guys at Arsenal and Man City.
You don't sound excited by that, mate. Huh?
In Chelsea, you're in your own set-piece department.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a set-piece coach by your side of it? Or you thought about here?
No, I've never had a sort of specific set piece coach. I've always had somebody who's responsible for that, but usually I always think it's better if that's somebody part of the coaching staff, because I think it's just an extension of, you know, how we play our football. I think that I don't really separate set pieces from everything else we do in terms of the kind of team we want to be. So it kind of all hopefully links in. So I've always used, a member of coaching staff here. We've kind of split the roles between Millet and Ryan Mason in terms of attacking and defensive set pieces, and they put a lot of work into it along with the analysis staff, and I'm sure every club does these days. But some have gone down the specialised route, which I think I kind of understand. It's just it's not how I work. I've always tried to create a kind of collegiate, collective sort of environment for everything we do, so that nothing is really separated, hopefully. And I wouldn't feel comfortable in kind of just bringing in specialists for just one particular area, just for the way I work more than anything else. But I can see why other clubs do it, and they're an important part of football these days. But all parts of football, I think, are important. I don't think there's one that's more important than the other. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's vital. Yeah, I mean, delivery is vital. I thought last week it wasn't great. Matters is usually good at them, but I thought we had a lot and we didn't really. And I know Mesa was pretty disappointed with that. So it's always areas you can improve. And those guys practice them. He said Pedro's great, but it does help as much as your organisation. You still need somebody, who can execute. If you've got, I'll go back a bit, but if you've got David Beckham on a free kick, you don't need a set-piece coach.
Just one more on that. I remember much of the day with Highway now, Everton was sort of targeting Enquiries. Is there a way to sort of help him overcome that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But again, I think it's one of those kind of spot fires we've had during the year. I don't think it's been a real issue for us. I mean, it was that game, but I didn't feel that the officiating around that game. And it's been interesting to see since then. It seems like they've become a little bit more vigilant about how much contact there is in a penalty box. So we were the test case maybe for that. But I think Vic's handled it really well. It's not easy for a goalkeeper coming into the Premier League from a league outside, because I don't think there are many leagues. Well, I don't think there are any leagues like the Premier League, and the pressure he puts on goalkeepers just from that aspect of it, the physical aspect of it. The nature and tempo of the Premier League, the amount of crosses that come in, not just from set pieces, just in general, probably outweighs most other leagues. So I think he's handled it really, really well. And the rest of it is just, like I said, us dealing with defensive set pieces. I think for the most part we've handled them pretty well. I don't think the club as a whole last year handled them too well. I think we've definitely improved in that area, but there have been games where we feel like we could have been better. Last week, for instance, I mean, Eze's free kick was outstanding, but our wall was pretty poor. So, that's the things you kind of look at and you go, okay, well, let's see if we can fix that kind of stuff.
Done.
And just to pick you up on something you said to Matt, you said you don't think the club will ever spend 100 million on a player. Is that because it's policy to look for more value in the market, or is that just purely financials?
I think it's purely financials. I mean, and to be honest, if I had the luxury of 100 million, I'd rather get 250 million players. God, that's great, isn't it, to say that? Wonderful. The world where I've... Yeah, true. The world I've come from. Yeah, anyway.
Arsenal didn't look like they were able to do that. Get on the rise.
Yeah, you could be right. That could be just my, background and conservative nature where I've come from. Where, as I said, you know, I've never been in that kind of position, and I've always felt like it's really important how you use the funds you have available, knowing they're not limitless. You know, if we can, and somebody tells me we can, I'll gladly spend it, mate. But you know, I try and put limits on my wife's spending, and they try and put limits on mine, mate. So yeah, works better that way. Just a bit of advice. Anyway.
Understand exactly why the club can do that, given the revenues it brings in, but also when you look ahead to the summer, it feels like the squad is pretty well set. It feels like only one or two additions, but big investments would make a big difference. Is that not how you're seeing it?
No. I think I've said in the past we've got a lot of work to do still on the squad. I don't think we're anywhere near where we want to be, and it probably will take, you know, a little bit more than just 3 windows to get there, for sure. Just in terms of the squad, the robustness of the squad, the adaptability of the squad, the compatibility of the squad, I think there's still a fair bit of change we need to do. And I certainly don't think we're 1 or 2 players away from getting to where I want us to be, nowhere near it. So, and some of it will just be natural evolution. Some of it hopefully means that we continue to get the improvement we've had this year from some of our players. If that happens over the next 12 months, then yeah, you know, we'll be in a great position. But you've got to remember, a lot of our group, this is their first year in the Premier League for a good chunk of them that are sort of been there ever present, almost a big core of it. So we need them to keep improving at the rate they are. But we've still got a lot of work to do with the squad. I think we're a long way away from having 1 or 2 players to get us to where we want to.
So fair to expect a similar kind of approach this summer as
Well, a little bit that depends on kind of availability of players, suitability of players. Yeah, so there could be more activity, could be less activity, but again, what we want to do is make sure we bring in the right ones. So I'm not saying that, you know, maybe we only do bring 1 or 2, I don't know, but that'll only be because there are only 1 or 2 that we think are suitable for what we're looking for. But that doesn't mean we'll, like I said, we'll be where we want to be, or where I want us to be.
Just one point Kieran made about set pieces. Really, you mentioned why particularly him for the defensive side of set pieces. What does he bring, and does he also seem like the kind of coach who also wants to be a manager?
Yeah, no, Millet's, obviously I coached him, and now he's a manager and coach in his own right, and he's very disciplined, and he's very well organised, and I just thought, with him not being out of the game too long ago, he's got a good understanding of what's there, and he's a scary bloke, mate. So people are scared to go up against him. So I figured that's good criteria. Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he's okay. Like I said, he's been carrying a bit of a back niggle, but this week's been better, to be fair. Like I think last week not starting probably helped him a little bit. So he's all good. He's trained all week.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hey, how you going? These blokes wouldn't even think about it. Wouldn't even enter there. Seriously. Yeah.
Today at Spurs, obviously, it was announced that Spurs is doing an official supporters association for women on the league. How important do you think this is for the female fans and for the club as a whole?
Yeah, look, it's imperative. It's integral. It's I was asked a question before about the impact that women have had in my life from my mum, who I wouldn't be here without her, and kind of the way she nurtured me and the household she made. I felt very loving and caring, even though it was a struggle for them. To my wife, who's a superstar, and I wouldn't be manager of Tottenham if not for her, because she's always had more belief in me than any other person on this planet, certainly more than the blokes in this room. And I think as a football club, we've really, it's placed always a high importance on accessibility and being open for everyone, but it's without a shadow of a doubt really important that we also recognise the role that the women play in our football club, whether that's as fans, as people who work for the club, vital roles that we wouldn't be able to function without. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, Ange.
Thank you, guys.